9-6, solving rational equations. A rational equation contains at least one rational expression. To solve these equations, it's often easier to eliminate the fractions. You can eliminate fractions by multiplying each side by the least common denominator. Solving rational equations in this way can yield results that are not solutions of the original equation. You can identify these extraneous solutions by substituting each value into the original equation to see if it is true. There are three types of problems that we're going to look at that are commonly solved by using rational equations. Those are mixture problems, uniform motion problems, and work problems. Before we get to those types, let's solve a rational equation here. So for this one, we need to solve for x. And to do this, we can multiply every single term by the least common denominator. And the least common denominator here of 12 and 48 is 48, and then x minus 4. So I'm going to write everything down here. So we have 7, 12 plus 9 over x minus 4 equals 55 over 48. Now the least common denominator is actually 48 x minus 4. So I'm going to multiply every term by 48 x minus 4. And the reason why I'm doing that is to eliminate all my denominators. So now 48 divided by 12 is 4. And now I do 7 times 4 is 28 times x is 28x. And then 28 times a negative 4 gives us a negative 112. And then I have a plus sign here. Now on the second part, I already have this x minus 4, so they divide out. And now I'm left with 9 times 48. That gives me 432. Equals, this side I already have the 48, and now I distribute the 55. And that gives me 55x minus 55 times negative 4 gives us negative 220. Now I have everything I need. I need to combine like terms. So negative 112 plus 432 gives us 320. 28x plus 320 equals 55x minus 220. Going to get my x's to the left, so I'm going to subtract 55x and then subtract 320. I'm now left with 28 minus 55 gives us negative 27x equaling negative 540. Divide by negative 27. Negative 540 divided by negative 27 gives us an answer of x equaling 20. So 20 would be the correct answer here. But if I want to double check that, I have 20 minus, put 20 in for x. 20 minus 4 is 16. So I have 7 12ths plus 9 16ths. This has to equal 55 48. So if I did 7 12ths plus 9 16ths and put that as a fraction, I do get 55 48ths. So my answer is correct of x equaling 20. Next, I'll write this over again. So x minus 7, or yeah, plus 1/2 equals 15 12ths. Multiply the least common denominator. The least common denominator would be 12 x minus 7. So 12 x minus 7. Okay, and this has x minus 7, so it's 3 times 12, which is 36. Plus, this has 2, divide this by 2 gives us 6. And 6x minus 1 times 1 is 6x minus 42. So I'm just distributing the 6 equals, I have the 12 distribute to 15, so that's 15x minus 15 times negative 7 is a negative 105. Combine like terms, so this will give us negative 6 plus 6x equaling 15x minus 105. Combine like terms, this time I'm going to subtract 6x and then add 105. This will give us 9x equaling 99. Divide by 9, x would equal 11. If I put that in for x in my original one, I would have 3/4 plus 1/2 will give us 15/12. This would actually be 3/4 plus 2/4 gives us 6/4. 6/4 does not equal, and then 12/4, I can divide this by 3/3, and this will give me 5/4. And this is not 6/4, this is 5/4. So 5/4 is equal to 5/4. So 11 is my solution. Next, select the solutions for this one. Here, to get rid of our denominator, this would be 6 times 4x plus 1, 6 times 4x plus 1, and 6 times 4x plus 1. 6 divides out, and I'm left with 20x plus 5. And then here I have the 4x plus 1, so that's a minus 12, equaling, that's a 2, so it'd be 2x times 4x is 8x squared, and 2x plus 1 is 2x. Get everything to one side, so this would be 8x squared minus 18x. This is negative 7, so plus 7 equals 0. Multiply this, so it gives me 56x squared. Simplify that, so let's see, 52 divided by 2 will give us 26. So let's see, 52 divided by 3, no, 52 divided by, not 52, 56 divided by 2 is 28, so that wouldn't work. So 56 divided by 4. So we could do 4x, so negative 4x and a negative 14x. Bring down the sides. Factor. So now I can factor out a 4x here, and I get 2x minus 1. Over here I can factor out a negative 7, and that gives me 2x minus 1. So I have 4x minus 7 equaling 0, and I have 2x minus 1 equaling 0. So add 7, 4x equaling 7, divide by 4, x will equal 7/4, so that's letter E. Add 1, 2x equaling 1, divide by 2, x would equal 1/2. So the choice would be D of 1/2. Example 2, solve a rational equation with extraneous solutions. So here we have to see if the answers will work back in there. So for here, I'm going to factor this one. So this will factor out a 3. That gives me m squared minus 6m plus 8. And that'll be, this would be m minus 4 and an m minus 2. Because add them up gives you a negative 6, multiply it gives you 8. Over here, I can take a 3 out, and then this is m minus 2. Here I have m minus 4. So the least common denominator would be 3, m minus 4, m minus 2. So this one, I have to multiply this side by 3, and then m minus 2, because the m minus 4 cancels out. Here, I already have everything. This one, I need to multiply by m minus 4. Those cancel off. These cancel off. So now I would have 6m squared minus 6m times 2 is 12m. Then this is minus m squared minus 7m minus 4 equals 4m squared minus 16m. If I get everything to one side, so it would be a minus 4m squared plus 16m. So minus 4m squared plus 16m. Combine everything, so this is 2m squared minus 1m squared is m squared. And then I have negative 12 plus 16 is 4. 4 minus 7 is a minus 3m. And then I have a minus 4 equaling 0. Factor, this would be a minus 4 and m plus 1. Make them equal to 0. I can have m equaling a positive 4 and m equaling a negative 1. To check this, we need to put them into our, here I know right here, if I check the original, m cannot equal negative 4. M cannot equal 4. Because if I put 4 in for m, it's going to make that denominator equal to 0, and I can't do that. 4 is extraneous. My only solution would be n equaling a negative 1. Next, factor this one, so this will be x plus 5 times x plus 3. So the common denominator is x plus 5 and x plus 3. So this will eliminate. This one would be x plus 3. This one would be x plus 5. So right off the bat, I know x cannot equal negative 5 and x cannot equal a negative 3. So keep that in mind when we solve these. So distributes, this will give me 2x squared minus or plus 6x minus x squared plus x plus 10. Now I'm just distributing a negative 1 there, equals 3x plus 15. Get everything to one side. So minus 3x minus 15. I now have 2x squared minus 1x squared is x squared. 6 minus 3 plus 1. 6 minus 3 is 3, plus 1 is 4x. And then 10 minus 15 is negative 5. So I would have x minus 1 times x plus 5 equaling 0. So x equaling 1 here and x equaling negative 5. We already know that x can't equal negative 5, so that's not the solution. So the only solution I have is x equaling 1. Another one, this is a difference of 2 squares, so x minus 4 times x plus 4. So my least common denominator is x minus 4, x plus 4. My denominator, the x cannot equal 4, and it cannot equal negative 4. So keep that in mind here. So here I have to multiply by x plus 4. This one already has it, so nothing. So I need to subtract all that. And then here it would be x minus 4. So this would be 2x squared plus 8x minus x squared plus 7x plus 4 equals 5x minus 20. Get everything to one side. So minus 5x and plus 20. We now have 2x squared minus 1x squared is x squared. 8 minus 5 is 3. Plus 7 is positive 10x. And plus 24 equals 0. Factor this, and we have plus 6 and a plus 4. Make them equal to 0. X would equal negative 6, and x could equal negative 4. Now we know that x cannot equal negative 4 because of here, so this is not correct. The only solution is x equaling negative 6. Example 3 now is one of our 3 kinds of problems. This is the mixture problem. It says rubbing alcohol, commonly used first aid antiseptic, typically contains 70% isopropyl alcohol. Suppose you are adding a 50% iso alcohol liquid in 200 milliliters of liquid. That is 91% iso alcohol. How much of a 50% iso alcohol liquid should be added to create rubbing alcohol that is 70% iso alcohol? So the original, you have 0.91, so we write the percent as a decimal. And there's 200 milliliters of the original one. They're going to add 50% or 0.5 of another liquid. We don't know how much milliliters there are there, so we're going to put an X there. The new equation is going to now be 0.91 times 200 plus 0.5x. So we're just adding these together. So the total amount of liquid is on the bottom. We have 200 plus x equals 200 plus x. So now from here, we're going to determine the percentage, and it says the percentage has to be 70. We're just setting up our equation. This is from the table that we had. And then we know that this part is the 70% that we're looking for. So now we're going to solve that one. So to solve that one, we need to simplify this first. So this is 70 over 100 equals 0.91 of 200 is 182 plus 0.5x all over 200 plus x. So we need to multiply by the least common denominator, which is 100 times 200 plus x. So we're going to do that on both sides. Hundreds divide out here, and now I'm left with 70 times 200, which is 7 times 2 is 14 with 3 zeros, so 14,000 plus 70x equals, parentheses cancels out, and I'm left with 182, so 18,200 plus, this would be 50x. Get the x's to one side, so I'm going to subtract 50x. And then I'm going to subtract 14,000. And now I'm left with 20x equaling, this would be 4,200 divided by 20. Half of 42 is 21. Knock off a 0 here, so 420, so this would be 210. So I would have a liquid that has 210 milliliters. Next one, at one point in her career, Serena Williams had won about 61% of the 28 professional tournament matches she had played against her sister Venus. If Serena were to win 80% of the future matches played against Venus, after how many more matches would Serena winning percentage over Venus improve to 65%? So we have everything in the table here. You're adding the 80% or the 0.8x. We don't know what x is, how many games she has to do. We want to make sure that her win, she already starts with 28 wins. This shouldn't be liquid, this should be wins or games, tournaments. So we'll have that there. Now we're going to take that. We're going to solve it on here. So on this slide, we have 0.61 times 28 gives us 17.08. So we have 17.08 plus 0.8x. This is going to be divided by 28 plus x. And this has to equal, prove to 65%. So 65 over 100. So the least common denominator is 100 times 28 plus x. So I need to multiply this side by 28 plus x, which I will get 28 times 65 is 1820 plus 65x. And this is going to equal, on this side I have to multiply this by 100. So I will have 1708 plus 80x, going to subtract 65x, and then subtract 1708. Now 1820 minus 1708 gives us 1112. So let me put that here. 112 equaling, this will give us 15x. Divide by 15. 112 divided by 15 will give us 7.4. So if I have x equaling 7.4, that would have to be, can't have part of a tournament, so it would have to be 8 more tournaments for that to happen. Next is a distance problem. It says Mexican free-tailed bats have average flight speed of 25 miles per hour. Suppose it takes one of the bats 5 hours to fly 121.8 miles round trip one night. Assuming that the bat flew at a constant speed, determine the speed of the wind. Use T equals D divided by R plus W. So the distance is 121.8 miles. So when we set this up, one's going to go to, and then the other one is going to be the from. So if it's round trip is 128.1 or 221.8. If I do 121.8 divided by 2, the total distance is 60.9. So the 2 is going to be, the distance is going to be 60.9. And then the rate for this one, how fast are they flying? It says 25 miles per hour on average. So this is 25 plus the wind equals, and on the other side is 60.9, and you would have, actually not plus, so the to and from, so this would be plus, then the way back you're going to go against the wind, so that would be 25 minus W. And this is going to give us a total of 5, so 5 hours. So we need to solve to find out the speed of the wind. So to do this, the common denominator is 25 minus w and 25 plus w. So here I'm going to multiply this side by 25 minus w, and this side I'm going to multiply by 25 plus w, and on the other side I have to do, since that's a difference of two squares, I'm just going to write it as a difference of two squares. So 25 squared is 625 minus w squared. So for here, this cancels off, and now I have 60.9 times 25. That gives me 1522.5 minus 60.9 w. And then I'm going to add. Here I have to do 60.9 times 25, which is 1522.5. And this will be plus 60.9 w equals 625 times 5 gives me 3125 minus 5w squared. I'll simplify this further. These will cancel off, and now I have 1522.5 plus 1522.5. That gives me a total of 3045 equals 3125 minus 5w squared. If I now divide or subtract 3125 from both sides, I now have negative 80 equals negative 5w squared. I divide by negative 5. I have w squared equaling 4. Or not 4, 16. To undo a square, I find the square roots. And I can only use the positive form. The positive form here would be 4. So it would be 4 miles per hour is the wind speed. Next, on a day when the speed of the wind is at cruising altitude is 130 miles per hour, it takes the plane 6.5 hours to travel 2,522 miles round trip between Miami and Boston. Determine the plane's average speed in still air, round to the nearest tenth if necessary. So for this one, here we're not finding the wind speed. We are actually finding the speed of the plane. So the distance, we take half of 2522, which will be 1261. Then we'll have, I'm going to use A for the airplane, minus 130 plus 1261 all over A plus 130 equals, now they have 6.5 hours. I need to put that as a fraction. That would be 13 over 2. Now for this, the common denominator is 2 times A minus 130 times A plus 130. Over here, 2 times A minus 130 times A plus 130. And here would be 2 times A squared minus 116,900. Now I'm doing that because it's a difference of two squares. Now to simplify, here I have 1261 times 2, which is 2522. And that would be 2522A. Then 1261 times 2 times 130 is a positive 327,860. And then plus over here, the A plus 130 cancels off. 1261 times 2A is 2522A. And then this would be a minus 327,860 equals 2 cancels off, and I'm left with 13a squared minus 13 times 13,900. That will give us a total of 219,700. From this point, I combine, so 2522a gives us 5044a equals 13a squared minus 219,700. I can have a trinomial here by subtracting that, so I'm left subtracting 5044a on both sides. So I have 13a squared minus 5,044a minus 219,700. Then I'm going to use the quadratic formula to solve this one. So I'll grab my calculator. And so now I have parentheses. My b, opposite of b is 5044. I'm going to do plus the square root of b squared, so 5044 squared, minus 4 times my a, which is 13, times my c, which is a negative 219,700, end parentheses, and then divided by 2a, which is 2 times 13 is 26. And I end up with an answer of 427.5. So the plane would go 427.5 miles per hour. And our last type of problems are work problems. It says if it takes a 24 row planter 10 hours to plant a field and 6 hours if a 16 row planter is also used, how long would it take to plant the field if only the 16 row planter were used? So for this one, we're going to use this formula. So 1 over the time of this will be like the 24 row, and this will be the 16 row, and this is the total. So now if it takes a 24 row planter 10 hours, that would be 1 over 10. And we're going to use, so if you think of rate times time equals distance, we're solving for the rate. So the rate is distance over time. And this will be, we don't know what the second one is, so I'm going to use 1 over, I'll just use n here, equaling the total time was 6 hours. So now I have to think, what do I multiply? Throw it to the least common denominator. The least common denominator of 10, 16, 6, and n would be, I could do 30n. So if I do 30n for each, to get rid of my denominators, I now have 3n here plus 30 equals 5n. Now to solve, I would subtract 3n on both sides. I would now have 30 equaling 2n. To get n by itself, I divide by 2, and n would equal 15, and that would be 15 hours for the 16 row planter to do it by itself. And our last one, Peter and Mariana own a bakery that specializes in cakes for all occasions. When Peter and Mariana work together, they can decorate a cake in 20 minutes. When Mariana decorates a cake by herself, it takes her 36 minutes. How long would it take Peter to decorate the cake by himself? So we're going to do T1 is going to be Mariana, T2 is going to be Peter, and then the total be them combined. So it says when they work together, they can decorate in 20 minutes. So this is 1 over 20. T1 would be 1 over Mariana by herself takes her 36 minutes. We don't know for Peter's, so I'm just going to put n. Common denominator of 36 and 20. See, we could do 180. So if I do 180n for all of these, 180 divided by 36 is 5. So this will give us 5n plus 180 equals 180 divided by 20 gives us 9. So 9n. Subtract 5n from both sides, and I get 180 equals 4n. Divide by 4. 180 divided by 4 will give us 45. So n would be 45 minutes. So it would take Peter 45 minutes to decorate the cake by himself. That is our lesson on solving rational equations.